First tonight, another boost in the fight against the virus. 2 more mass vaccination centres have opened here in the East Midlands. They're inoculating over 70s and health and care workers too. Now, this region has 5 of these larger sites now, known as national vaccination centres. They'll take people within a 45-minute drive. In a moment, we'll hear from Leicester, but first, the new expanded centre which opened at Derby Arena today. Our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball reports.
The tiny jab that's offering such a brighter future. Annika's a community support worker. And this is 25-year-old Rhiannon. She helps people with learning disabilities.
It'll make a big difference. Because I work for MENCAP and I go around quite a few different places, so it's just going to make it feel a lot less risky.
My kids can see their grandparents. Cannot wait for that to properly happen again, and just life just to resume to normal.
It's 3 weeks since Derby Arena started inoculations for over 80s referred by GPs. Today's expansion means they can eventually open up to 40 vaccination stations. The number of people invited will depend on how many doses they have.
We all of us sadly acknowledge that horrible 100,000 deaths due to COVID yesterday. If you get an invitation to come for your vaccine, please take it up. Please make sure that you come along. This is the opportunity for us to be able to turn things around.
Watching what's happening here does feel a bit like witnessing the beginning of the end after a year that's changed all of our lives. There's still a long, long way to go, of course, but this is a glimmer of hope. And today, the nurse in charge here had her first COVID jab too.
Oh, it's a massive deal. I think it's a big privilege that we're part of the priority list. It's so important for any staff working within health and social care to have the vaccination so that we can continue to treat our patients and look after our patients. Didn't feel a thing.
You're well done.
Thank you. That was straightforward. Absolutely straightforward. Didn't feel a thing.
Now they're inviting over 70s here, as well as people who were extremely clinically vulnerable. That means light at the end of a dark tunnel for thousands more people every day.
And as Leicester's first mass vaccination site opened in Belgrave, so people were being urged to ignore false claims on social media and inaccurate rumours about the vaccine itself. Giles Taylor reports.
Just over there.
Today, these were some of the first people to be treated at this new mass vaccination centre.
First week or so is a bit of a soft approach, but we are working up to be able to vaccinate 1,500 people per day.
Well, situated in the heart of Leicester's Belgrave neighbourhood, this is the perfect place to reach the city's Asian population. But its radius of patients will be much wider than that, with people coming from 45 miles around.
It is important, you've got to do your bit. Yeah.
The things that brought me along really is I like going abroad for my holidays. And I thought if I didn't have the vaccine, I wouldn't perhaps be able to go.
I would encourage anyone else, not just because of age or creed or colour, but because it's a good thing for everyone to do, to help each other and to help the NHS.
Oh, I'm not worried about anything. Whatever is there, I have to take it, that's it. As simple as that.
It comes as there have been fears that some minority communities may be put off because of rumours of the vaccine's content.
I think there have been some fairly outlandish claims about the content. I'd really say, look, speak to people in the health field, people that know, and you'll find that that will be completely different from the reality. So I think my real push to people would be, don't believe everything that you read on social media.
Manmahan owns a restaurant in Leicester that's currently closed. After initially volunteering to help, he's now a deputy site manager here.
I think it's important that for certain communities who are at higher risk of dying from coronavirus, it's important that we participate, get vaccinated, and then encourage everyone else within our family and friendship circles to have the vaccination.
Almost 7 months since this city became the first place in the country to go into a local lockdown, this programme now gives hope of a return to normality. Giles Taylor, BBC East Midlands Today, Leicester.
Jeremy's here now with me in the studio. I'm concerned there that some ethnic minorities might be resistant to actually taking the vaccination. How widespread is this?
Yeah, there are concerns about that. I mean, I heard the same at Derby Arena this morning with an appeal for black and Asian health workers to get the jab. Now, and one recent study for the government suggested a lot of resistance to the jab from people with African and Caribbean backgrounds. Almost 3/4 of black people didn't want the vaccination. Quite a lot of wariness in Pakistani communities as well. Less resistance if you're white or from an Indian background, but even in those groups, something like 1 in 5, 1 in 6 people didn't want to get vaccinated.
Gosh, it's quite high, isn't it? What are the infection numbers looking like?
Well, case rate's still very high, we heard at this evening's government news conference. They are starting to fall, but falling more slowly here in the East Midlands than most other parts of the country. There are 5 districts in this region where those numbers are still going up, actually. Quite a sharp increase in the last week in Derbyshire Dales, rising in Rushcliffe, in Bolsover, in South and North East Derbyshire too. Much higher rates as well in the cities of Derby and Leicester still, and those well above the national average now.
Do you know, I can't remember a time, I don't think, when we've had so many numbers coming at us all the time, but they are really important.
They really matter if you're fed up of lockdown. They really matter if you're trying to plan your life. Because, you know, it's not the only factor, of course, but a big part in how the government decides when to lift all these restrictions. Now, in the last hour or so, the Prime Minister's been talking about when schools might reopen. He's hoping that can start, he said, on Monday, the 8th of March. But he said that's the very earliest date. It's under constant review, and the government is going to be cautious about this to avoid what Boris Johnson called another huge surge in this pandemic. So you can see why we're following these numbers so closely.
Yes, and it's not going to stop for a while, is it? But for now anyway, Jeremy, thank you very much indeed.